Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I am Chuck Pyle, the Executive Director and co-founder of Second Chance Tucson. We are a group of volunteers dedicated to reducing recidivism and intergenerational harm by helping people returning from incarceration with employment, housing, and volunteer opportunities, and educating the public to reduce the stigma they encounter. This is our 5th virtual forum. We plan to present our first in-person community forum since 2019 in 2025. For today, you will not be able to use the chat button. Questions should be submitted through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Because we have so much to present, there will only be a few questions asked by me after I review the submission and as time allows. We're going to start with a presentation about programs at Pima Community College. It'll be moderated by Tony Offret. Tony is a longtime volunteer with Second Chance Tucson and a current board member. Tony is the Advanced Program Manager for the Pima Community College programs at the state and federal prisons. Tony will moderate today's discussion about the programs at Pima Community College. Tony, if you'll please introduce our speakers today.
Thank you, Chuck. It's my pleasure to be here today and welcome everybody. And thank you for participating in this forum. I think you'll find the information presented interesting and useful, and we appreciate all the support by the various people involved in our production. As Chuck mentioned, I'm the Advanced Program Manager for the State and Federal Prison Program. My office is actually at the Wilmot Prison, and here at the prison we teach automotive, construction, HVAC, electrical, and plumbing. These are all college credit courses that are open entry, open exit, and are offered year-round, and they are self-paced. These same courses are offered at our downtown campus, and an important component of our success here at the Wilmot Prison is the cooperation and support of 2 gentlemen at the downtown campus. One is John Gerard. John is the department head for career and technical education. His office is located at the downtown campus. And Skylar Webb. Skylar is the department head for automotive. And both of these gentlemen interact with us regularly, and I will have them expound on how that works for them. So, John, if you'd come on.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm John Gerard. I'm the department head for building and construction technologies at Pima Community College. We have programs in carpentry, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and woodworking. And I actually got my start with Pima College teaching out at the prison program as the construction trades teacher out there at Wilmot.
What are some of the programs to offer at the downtown campus?
So we have carpentry and woodworking. Those are kind of a combined program. We also have HVAC, electrical, and plumbing. And those programs all are offered as certificates and 2-year associate's degrees.
Terrific. And you have some developments in terms of expansion coming up very shortly. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the BCT program has been in the same existing space for about the last 24 years. And we've done all 4 of those programs out of an area of about 2,500 square feet. And due to the expansions that we've had on the downtown campus, we're actually going to be expanding to about 25,000 square feet. So each of our programs will be gaining a space about the size of what all the programs were working out of prior to that.
Terrific. And what's the impact of that?
The biggest impact is we're going to be able to offer a lot more industrial and commercial level certifications. We traditionally have been more residentially focused, and we will continue to have that, but we're going to be able to expand, offer a lot more opportunities for students to see beyond the residential construction sphere.
Great, great. Skylar, if you would tell us about your automotive program and how you started with Pima Community College.
Oh, I'd absolutely love to. So I actually started alongside John out at the out of the prison program at Wilmot, where you're running right now. So that was like about 14 years ago. So I've been at this for a while, about 6 or 7 years teaching in the prison. So a little bit of experience on this. And the automotive program at the downtown campus is inside our brand new building. John's getting his built. Ours has already been built in our fancy little 45,000 square foot building. We offer a light, it's called basically light automotive vehicle repair. So we don't do heavy duty diesels like tractors and semis. We don't do body work, but we do everything else from HVAC, steering, suspension, engine and drivability, electronics. We cover all that. And we split it basically between a 1-year certificate program and a 2-year associate's degree. And we do offer what would be known as a la carte classes. So if you just want to train on one thing, transmissions, engines, it's open for anybody to apply. You do not have to take the entire program to get in.
Great, great. So it offers a lot of flexibility for people who might be working full-time but need some expertise in a particular area.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're open Monday through Friday, morning, afternoon, and night. So we open from 7:30 in the morning and we run classes all the way till 9:30 p.m. at night. So we're flexible for those working full or part-time.
Terrific, terrific. So coming back to our purpose of the forum, and I'll leave it open to either one of you. What services are available if we have somebody who is one of our students and is justice involved and wants to enroll at Pima Community College? Our programs here lead to a certificate, but if they wanted to actually earn an associate degree, and they're formerly incarcerated, what would you suggest is their best plan of action?
Oh man, if John doesn't want to field it, I'll gladly.
No, I can field it if you want, Skylar. Doesn't matter.
That's all.
We both do it. We'll take turns.
Yeah. Go. You go first. I'll go after.
Yeah. So the biggest thing to look at this is that all of these students are Pima Community College students. They all have A numbers. So as soon as they come to us at the downtown campus, they have all the same resources that any other Pima College student has. So, you know, whether they want to talk to our program advisor based on the department that they're interested in, or they need to go talk with financial aid or veterans benefits or any of those types of things, they need to, you know, check out a laptop so they can use that. They have all those same resources that any other Pima College student has. And I think that's a huge thing to kind of overcome any kind of stigma that they might be brought outside of that. So Skylar, did you have any?
Yeah, so to follow up on John said is all pretty on point. We already have resources for a lot of students in terms of student services and outreach and assistance with getting into programs and registering. We also do have a lot of grants. We have scholarships. We have tutors that are designed to assist students that are perhaps a bit behind on their basic educational learning. And one of the big things that sets Pima apart in this regard is we have a lot of what they call non-traditional students. Like a lot of people are intimidated because they're like, what is college? Like 18 to 24-year-olds, who the heck am I? I think our average age for students is closer to their late 20s or mid 30s. So oftentimes when people are going, there's a lot of resources for, we call those quote unquote older students, non-traditional students. So that also helps with reentry into college because you're not around a bunch of, not to be offensive, you know, younger students, 18 to 24. So we do have resources that are designed for people that are working or need childcare. So we have a lot of outreach for that as well.
Oh, terrific. So let's say you get out of here and you enroll in one or both of those programs. What's the job market in your areas now? And in particular, what's the job market for formerly incarcerated? Are there, my sense is that a lot of restrictions that were in the past aren't necessarily there anymore for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Skylar and I probably represent the two largest workforce areas that probably don't have as much of an issue with any kind of background that we're talking about. There are certain areas where there might be restrictions based on maybe the type of crime that was committed and what you're going to be doing. You know, if you're going to be going and doing service calls for you know, in people's residences, that there might be some restrictions. But I know, at least in construction, the job market is so in need of quality workers that I think that there's a lot of those restrictions have fallen away, and in a positive way, not in a haphazard way. So I think that that's probably, at least in our area, it's very very marketable, and it's not a detriment.
Yeah, pretty much John nailed it on that one. We have incredibly in need industries, and automotive is severely understaffed in terms of entry level and mid level technicians and high level technicians. There's just not enough people to go around. A lot of places will end up hiring people who are formerly incarcerated, like places like Jim Click Automotive have explicit statements that they're willing to do that. In fact, I believe you will hear later on in this forum current employee who's formerly incarcerated who works for them. And while big things like Grand Theft Auto will probably make it very difficult to work in the automotive field, they're generally not terribly discriminatory in those other areas. As always, what they seek is people who can show up. Can you be sober while you work? And that's basically it. Can you show up? Can you be sober? And can they teach you? And I'm telling you now, they'll take a lot of people. There's just not enough people in the industry. They're very desperate for employees right now.
Well, that's good news for everybody, both inside and outside. If I am a formerly incarcerated individual and looking to go out in the workforce, what courses should I take at Pima in addition to maybe the core courses that you would offer? And how would those help me to market myself as somebody who's formerly incarcerated in the job market today?
Skylar, you want to lead on this one?
Oh man, yeah. See, we'll switch the order up here. So, what classes should we take in addition? I mean, I hate to admit this is kind of a thorny subject, right? Like, what do you want to learn? There's generally, we have one free class called, I believe, STU 100, student training skills level 100, that is required as part of any certificate course or associate's degree, but it is a course designed to basically help integrate you back into going to college. Like the whole class, free. Again, it's a 1-credit course. You have to take it if you want to get a degree or certificate, and it walks you through what the expectations of college are. How do we expect to set time aside? How do we show up for classes? What should we expect from instructors? What are my rights as a student, essentially? Like, what should I expect? What do I have a right to sort of claim as my own? Highly, highly, highly recommended no matter what class you take. Even if you're an a la carte student, all I want to do is go into automotive and learn how to rebuild transmissions. Awesome. You should still take STU 100. You should still get some of that training because it'll at least help you with my courses and really get you prepared.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, you know, the computer skills classes, that tends to be something that I see a lot of our non-traditional students struggle with. And so, you know, at least in my department, there's always an interface with an online platform, whether it's with D2L, which is our LMS, our learning management system for the college, or we use Pearson for a lot of our classes. That tends to be something that if you've been out of the mix, or maybe you're, you know, an adult learner, you may not have the same skill set that a younger learner might have because everything they've been exposed to has been computer-based or online-based. So I think sometimes that bulking up on that is probably important. I know in our core classes we teach you know, soft skills, because that's always something that's going to be beneficial to any employer. You know, resume writing, things like that, employability skills, communication skills, those kinds of things. But you know, that's true of all of our students. I think, you know, a lot of our the job market just expects, like Skylar said earlier, you know, if you can show up when you're supposed to be there, you can show up on time and sober. You know, that's half the battle right there. Just being willing to work, follow instruction, but sometimes to get in the door, you need to have some of those soft skills to be able to apply to a job, generate a resume, things like that. And that's all things that we do support here at Pima, whether it's in our programs or it's with student services and our advisors.
Skylar, in your program, do you find that either older learners or learners that coming out of an incarcerated situation have challenges in terms of technical skills, keeping up with technology as it is today, as well as the soft skills? What are the most valuable that you think play into being a successful employee down the road?
So problems that maybe formerly incarcerated people would run into. I'm trying to think. I've had a couple students. I don't actually, for my program, and this isn't like the magic of my program, it's just how it is. We don't really have any serious issues with formerly incarcerated folks that come in. I mean, to be very blunt, spending a lot of time in prison builds a lot of soft skills, because you have to learn how to ask. You have to you have to follow directions. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Keep distance, etc. All of that really helps. And then when you're outside, frankly, if like formerly incarcerated students are like the most well-behaved students I have, and like it flows just naturally based on the way the programs work. So we don't run into too many problems there. And everything else, as far as expectations of learning skills for like the workforce, yeah, that all gets baked into the program. It's all, like John said, like the soft skills will come. A lot of people who are in prison have pretty solid soft skills coming out if they train at it. And then everything else is just technical skill, which we build on top. And all that's designed to basically hold everyone's hands, make sure they know how this industry works, what to expect, what are those soft skills. We'll train those, do some interviewing stuff, all that good jazz. So we do have we actually have quite a bit of resources on that.
Tony, we're getting a little close to the close of this, but I was wondering if John or Skylar have any information or thoughts about scholarships or tuition assistance.
I mean, thoughts on it. Apply for them, please. Literally, the easiest thing is to Google. If you know, like, just Google college scholarships, Google, formerly incarcerated scholarships. If you know which field you're going into, automotive, construction, type that into, it will immediately dump just a boatload of these scholarships on you. And truth be told, most of them don't get fully applied and taken. So honest to God, like the easiest way to get it is to just apply, and chances are you'll win that scholarship by being one of the few people who applied for it.
Great. Thanks very much, Skylar. And John and Skylar, both of you, thanks for this information, really getting people in a chance to really get in something that they really could be passionate about. So we're very pleased today to have Ryan Thornell, the director of the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry, speaking. Dr. Thornell has a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati, the preeminent university criminal justice program in the country, and has a doctorate from the University of South Dakota. As an undergraduate, Dr. Thornell worked as a correctional officer, and he worked in the upper administration of the Maine Department of Corrections for a decade before Governor Hobbs appointed him. Director Thornell's presentation is entitled Reimagining Corrections. Director, we're very grateful for you being here today, and the virtual stage is yours.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. So thank you for the chance to speak. I'm going to, I think, have some slides that pop up here. But first, just wanted to say thank you for letting me join into the conversation. The idea of Second Chance Tucson and really the framework of second chances is critically important to all of what we do at the Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry, but also in the broader community. I think, hopefully what many of you heard in some underlying themes from both Skylar and John in the conversation before me was, there's a growing opportunity in the community for acceptance of people returning from incarceration, especially those who have an aptitude for learning and seeking those second chances and third chances even, and making impacts in different ways vocationally and employment and the spillover that has elsewhere. So what I want to do is take the opportunity to really share with you what Reimagining Corrections is and why it's an important vision for our agency, how it fits within Governor Hobbs' vision for the state of Arizona, and then really spend some time speaking practically about how myself and the team here at ADCRR are actually putting that into place, and really walk you through some tangible things that are happening, which allows you to have a set of expectations really to hold our agency accountable to, but also to make some of your own local and statewide resource decisions based upon. So first, just a little bit about me, not in terms of a bio or anything, but really what brought me here to Arizona. So obviously, I'm grateful to Governor Hobbs to, for her platform and in pursuing an Arizona for all. It's really been her mantra since taking office last January. But within that statewide vision of an Arizona for all, she specifically speaks about having a public safety system for all of Arizona. And in that includes the staff within agencies like the Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry, but also the population within ADCRR. And so, there's a recognition that not only the 8,500 employees that we have, but also the nearly 35,000 incarcerated individuals and 5,000 people in our communities under supervision are subject to services for all. And that's really been the charge that she's given me with my approach to corrections is how do you take what our system we have today and transform that in a way that applies to everyone in a fair and just manner. What brought me here really has been a pathway from multiple different states. You heard a little bit about that in the introduction, most recently in the state of Maine, but I've also worked in other states, started out as a correctional officer in the state of South Dakota. And I mention that because it's really given me a different approach to corrections. It's given me a different viewpoint in corrections outside of just one state, one career track, one influence track. And so what I'm able to bring here into this new administration, a new vision is a different approach where I've tried different things, seen what's worked, what hasn't worked, and I've been able to bring that to apply it to the system here in Arizona. I was also attracted to the ability to transform an agency, right? It's no secret that ADCRR has been plagued by controversy over the last 10 to 15 years, whether it's systemic controversy or policy procedure practices or healthcare, court-related, everything in between. And so, I view this as an opportunity to really take an agency and transform it in a positive way, again, not only for the staff, but for the population. And then lastly, and you'll see this in the next few slides as well, is there's a reflection of needing to give a perfect effort into what we do here as an agency. So often the field of corrections, the DOCs nationwide really just become a pooling of status quo, just going through the motions, complacency almost, because it's viewed that incarceration is just a simple churning of people and protocols over and over. And my challenge to my team and to our greater department community is that we need to give an effort that takes us out of that status quo, that revolving door, so to speak. And so that's what I've brought coming to Arizona, and that's what you're going to hear a little bit about how that feeds into our new vision of reimagining corrections. I mentioned a few moments ago that the department historically has been plagued by controversy, and many of you as Arizonans know what that controversy has been. As I arrived last year and really hit the ground running, walking, talking, and viewing things in practice, what stuck out to me is that the agency and really the staff within the agency only knew what they knew at the time. They've only been exposed to corrections within the lens of Arizona. And so very quickly, we established a vision underneath Governor Hobbs' vision for the state to reimagine our agency. And we chose that word reimagine specifically because of what that means. I don't like to speak about us having a broken system or needing to completely rebuild or overhaul what we have, because I don't think that's true. We have really good people working in the system, motivated to do really good things. My challenge is giving them a foundation and a platform to work from. And so that's where we came up with this idea of reimagining, forming a new conception of what corrections means, what it means to incarcerate somebody and what we do with them during that period of time. It challenges us to recreate policies, practices, protocols to get us out of that status quo sort of mindset, to use our imaginations to do things differently, right? If our controversy and our history continues to show that we repeat things over and over, and we don't try to creatively get ourselves out of some of the troubles we've been in, then what good are we, right? So we really need an opportunity to rethink how we do security, treatment protocols, and other aspects of this work. And so that kind of wrapped together gives us this framework of reimagining corrections, and that gives you a little bit of a backdrop of why we established that as our vision. And because we know we need to do corrections differently, we need to really establish what it means to do good corrections here in Arizona. It was important that we establish this vision to give staff something to anchor to. So as they're going forward with me as their director, with our leadership team, and with the new policies and practices that are coming out, this idea of reimagining corrections can really be their anchor. They know what to expect. They know what my leadership and guidance is going to be couched within, and it gives them something to grasp onto. So they at least know where we're going as an agency and what's going to be expected of them as we proceed forward. So that gives you just a little bit about that vision. I want to just, before I dive into some of the specifics of how that's coming to fruition, I want to just put a plug in here and make everybody aware. So we've overhauled our webpage for the agency. And in doing so, we've established a section of the webpage specifically focused on our mission and vision, and a lot of the information that I'm going to go through here in terms of goals, outcomes, and achievements. So I just put this slide up here. So if you're ever interested in learning more about what we're doing, what it means, and what our progress is, you can visit the mission and vision portion of our webpage and check it out. There's a wealth of information that talks about how we're doing, why we're doing it throughout the year, and then it'll be updated in 2025 and so forth. It's directly aligned with the vision and goals that Governor Hobbs has set out for the state. So part of what I've already spoken about is some of our foundational principles that make up our vision. But it's important for me to share with you because, again, I want the public to know and our partners and stakeholders to know what they should expect from our agency in working with us and on the receiving end maybe of some of our clientele as they transition into the community. In addition to the effort that I already spoke about, one of the most important changes to our approach that we're instilling, we have been for the last years, moving from really the power and control aspect of corrections that's historically plagued the field of corrections, and training and supporting staff in an approach of respect, building respect, showing respect establishing rapport amongst themselves, but also with the population, and then meaningfully engaging them in terms of communication, conversation, programming, services, preparation, and connectivity, right? If we can change our mindset away from power and control dynamics into respect, rapport, and engagement, the tension within our facilities, the ability to actually do things within our facilities, and then the outcomes associated with those are tenfold. And the wellness of everybody in that environment goes up because tension and the confrontation goes down. One of our foundational principles is also that we need to support and develop our staff in a way that modernizes how they approach the job. So we need to make different types of training, professional development available to them, support their enrollment in those things, and then coach them going forward into how they actually put that into practice. We need to make sure we communicate effectively and responsibly, not just internally, but also externally. So how we interface with the public, how we welcome the public in, and demonstrate the work that we're doing and the challenges that we face is critically important. We need to make sure that we have a mindset of wellness in everything we do, not just medical healthcare sort of wellness, but systemic wellness. We need to make sure that our staff are operating in a healthy environment. We need to make sure that we're addressing the critical needs of our population and focusing on how we improve those needs while they're with us. And then maybe most importantly, we need to focus on how our practices contribute to a healthier, more a stronger community when individuals release from us and go out into their local Arizona communities. And then finally, we're operating now from a foundation of transparency and accountability in terms of what we share, how we share it, how we hold ourselves accountable, how we confront our challenges and own our challenges, and not being afraid to do so. But then also inserting an element of humanity and recognizing that, the population that we work with are all humans. Their family members in the community are humans. And we all have to make sure that we account for all of those individual aspects in the daily operations, the daily things that we do. We need to move away from kind of that routinized paramilitary approach into how we interface with those around us. And so I share these with you really just to give you the backdrop of what we're instilling for foundational principles across our agency. What I want to spend a bulk of the time just sharing with you is really the 4 goals of our vision so that you all know where our resources and our concentration is focused on. And so the next 4 slides highlight those, and I'm just going to speak to them very briefly because I know the time is limited. But the first goal is back to this idea, this principle of professional development and changing the dynamics within our agency. We really need to build a meaningful organizational culture that promotes a team sort of environment. And that means team in terms of the staff team, but also the more of the systemic team, which includes all of our stakeholders. We need to engage with them differently. We need to make sure that we're prioritizing their health and wellness, as I spoke about, but also that we're giving them an environment where they can rely on each other to do really good things. We need to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and holding ourselves responsible to that as a team dynamic. And we need to make sure that we're measuring and reporting how we're doing from an organizational culture perspective. We need to be able to show how we've transformed from prior to 2023 to where we're going in the future and what that means from a cultural change perspective. Because I'm sure many of you all, much like the rest of the public, is expecting us to have a different culture, different culture of engagement and impact than we've had previously. And part of that is the last piece on the slide, which is we need to make sure that we establish a just and fair culture and team. So amongst ourselves, but also with our stakeholders and our population, we need to make sure we mean what we say. And so if we have a protocol in place, a practice in place, and it's an improvement, we need to make sure that we follow through on that. We don't just We don't just put it in policy and set it aside. It's only through all of these different things, these efforts, that we actually have a more meaningful organizational culture. And then that spills into these other aspects of what we need to do as an agency, which feeds into goal number 2, which focused on how we manage our population, but maybe most importantly, how we progress our population, right? We've been in the process of doing this, but we have to shift our mindset away from a one-size-fits-all, only incarcerate people in this one way, and recognize that much of our population is what we would consider to be special populations, and that they have special needs and factors that bring them to prison, that contribute to their incarceration, that need to be addressed prior to their release. And we have to individualize how we manage them and then what we do to help them progress. And that also feeds into how we interact with them on a day-to-day basis, what we do to communicate and keep them de-escalated and keep ourselves de-escalated. We need to make sure that we're housing them appropriately. One of the things I recognized coming into this agency last year is that we overclassify individuals. And so we've had a whole host of people at a very high custody level who didn't necessarily need to be there. But that really restricts what we can do with them when they're placed in those environments. And so we're working right now very close to deploying a new classification system that's going to help address a lot of those issues and put people in a much more appropriate housing environment and system, open up their opportunities for engagement and programming. We've already done this on the intake side, where we've overhauled what it means to be a new intake into our system and the assessment processes that you go through, and then how those assessment outcomes, findings contribute to your plan while you're with us. So when you spend a week or more in an intake sort of phase and go through this battery of assessments, it's critically important that we take that information and do something with it while you're incarcerated with us. And so that feeds into housing placement, program placement, treatment services, connectivity to community, and all of those other things that are critically important to somebody while they're incarcerated. So now we use that information in a more meaningful way. We've also overhauled what it means to actually live on one of our housing units in our yards, and how much time you get out of cell, how you engage when you're out of the cell. And then a shocking sort of idea that we're working through is how you actually build community within these housing areas, right? So how do you socialize people differently? How do you give them opportunities, again, at tables, out in the recreation areas, at our service kind of depots within our housing units? How do you encourage that time out in a safe environment, in a meaningful environment? And what's the role that staff has in that? And so one of the things that we've done is in our higher custody areas, we've mandated that people be out of their cell multiple hours every day to give them that opportunity for socialization, rather than just keeping them locked down for days on end. It does nothing for them and nothing meaningful to them internally or in preparation for release. That's fed into different restrictive housing processes. I have a slide, some data on a slide coming up here, but we've completely changed how we use what's historically been called max custody, some of what people would refer to as solitary confinement. We refer to as restrictive housing, but no longer do we have the mindset or the practices where somebody can get locked down for months and years on end, and not have the opportunity to transition back out into a general population environment, because we know that lockdown long-term setting, that isolative setting, is damaging to them, is harmful to them, and we have to take steps to move away from that. We already have, and you'll see that slide here coming up. We're bolstering second chance efforts by reaching deeper into the system, utilizing our beds differently in order to promote second chance reentry efforts and partnerships, and give people opportunities before release that help them upon that transition, and changing what we do in the community when we're supervising people to help keep them in the community versus bringing them back to prison. Now, this goal 3, I won't go through this entire thing because it builds upon what I just went through, but our third goal is really about service delivery, and how we encourage good quality service delivery and continuity of care in our complexes, in our institutions, and then connect that to our community transitions. And so we've moved ahead light years in terms of programs that are available, how we put people into those programs, the scope that we reach, how we use mentors coming in to impact those systems, but also how we use mentors within our system, currently incarcerated people, to also have a positive impact. We're expanding educational services, really working with our workforce development partners in the community to bring in new types of vocational training. Some of what you heard a little bit about with some community college connections that we're continuing to bolster. But the last thing I want to point out under this goal that we've done is we've established a women's services administrator and really established a whole new gender responsive approach to how we incarcerate women specifically, because women have different drivers to incarceration, different needs while they're incarcerated. And so we need to have a different environment in which they're incarcerated that is specific to those needs, different than men. And historically, that has not been the case here in Arizona. It's not the case in many other states. And so we've taken significant steps to put us on a different path, one of which is Women's Services Administrator. Our last goal is really focused on modernization and sustainability. Everything that we do, we want to make sure we do in a way that's sustainable. We want to make sure that it's in a way that promotes a safe environment, one that doesn't increase our risk for things like contraband introduction or other safety concerns, and can be sustained long term. So it doesn't matter who's at the helm of the agency, doesn't matter who the warden of a complex is. Whatever we put in place is done so in a way that can be sustained long term and have long term outcomes. But it also requires us to invest in new technologies. It requires us to take risk by bringing technology that historically has not been allowed inside of corrections facilities, in order to open up access for both staff, but also our population. And it also requires us to put in new systems of learning where we hold ourselves accountable, we learn from the things that have happened or are happening, and then we take steps to correct them so that they don't happen again. And so it becomes kind of this feedback loop that promotes sustainability. So that's really the anchor of our fourth goal as we move forward. So what I want to just kind of close out with, and then I think we have some time set aside for some questions if there are any. But I want to just highlight, it's been almost 16 months now since my appointment, and it's really been about a little over a year since we implemented our vision of reimagining corrections. And the strides that we've made, the responsiveness of staff has been incredible. Our staffing levels, number one, have significantly improved, which improves our operations of our facilities and our offices. And it also gives us the opportunity through our Correctional Officer Academy to make sure we're training people coming into our complexes in a much better and stronger and more sustainable way. And so I'm very happy to report that our staffing levels increased by almost 10% just in the last year, which has been significant. We've expanded educational services, as I mentioned. I put a chart on here to just show you that just in 1 year's time, we had more than 1,000 more educational achievements across our population in just 1 year's time. And we're already building on that for 2024 and into 2025 to make sure that number goes up even more, because we know that the single most impactful intervention we can give and encourage to our population is education. Doesn't matter which level it's at, as long as it's the next level that individual needs. That's the most impactful thing we can do for them. Best return on investment. And so we're taking strides, making strides to put systems in place to continue making those opportunities available. We've made a hepatitis C treatment, which is a critical treatment for this population, medical treatment. We've made it universally available, and had done so in the last year, along with medication-assisted treatment for those suffering through opioid use disorder, which is a significant portion of our population. Every given day, right now, we have over 6,000 individuals receiving treatment for opioid use disorder across our system, which is a staggering number. But it's a number that shows the efforts that we're taking in terms of treating that population. I mentioned restrictive housing use, max custody. The chart up top shows our reduction since my arrival in January till now. We've had over an 80% reduction in our use of those restrictive environments. We've had a significant expansion in our Second Chance Center usage. We've expanded the criteria to help people get access to those beds and placements, and therefore expanded the number of graduates from those centers. Happy to report that our focus on how we release people has reduced the number of individuals releasing from us homeless. I think people would be very shocked by the percentage of individuals who release homeless from any sort of correctional environment. Just this last month, we finally got that number under 10%. So less than 10% of our releases leave here homeless. It was over 20% last year. And so we've made great strides with partners like many of you all and others in the community to address that. We just rolled out a mental health peer support program to help support individuals through more of a lived experience environment across all of our complexes. And then I already mentioned our Women's Services Administration. This just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what we're doing as we reimagine things, but I think it provides at least some evidence of where we're going and what we're making for incremental progress. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we do as we round out, this second year and into years 3 and 4 under Governor Hobbs, because having her support has allowed us to really push hard as we're making these changes and reimagining things. So I'm going to stop there, hopefully allowed a little bit of time if there are questions at all, and turn it back over to the group.
Thank you very much, Director. We do have several questions. I don't think we have time to get to all of them, but maybe I can get to one or two here. There is a question from Michael Robinson, who's with the Casa Grande Alliance, and he discusses that they have a forensic peer support program that they have been using in conjunction with the Pinal County Jail, where it's kind of a warm handoff at the gate, and they facilitate resource navigation and other supports. And he's wondering if ADCCRR would want to kind of collaborate in the same manner. And the other part of his question is the question about allowing individuals who have lived experience with incarceration getting clearance and access so they can facilitate in-reach programming directly to those who are getting close to 6 months from release.
Yeah, excellent questions. Thank you, Michael, for sending them. To the first question around the peer support program, we would welcome the opportunity to consider partnering on that. It sounds like it maybe is more of a localized program, maybe out of Casa Grande or just Pinal County more broadly, but we can connect with our parole staff, our community reentry team, because they help facilitate those warm handoffs. But these are the kind of partnerships we're looking for, because we know that it takes connections to each of those in order to make some of these transitions happen. So please, if it makes sense, connect with me outside of this, and we can, my information's on our website, but I also know Second Chance Tucson has it as well. So let's make that happen. And then secondly, yes, we have a whole host of volunteers and partners with lived experience, priors, you know, some recently released, who reach back in and do programming, mentorship, and connection to our population. You know, and what I often challenge that group to do is reach deep in to our highest risk population and make those connections. So if you know of individuals who are interested in doing that, we have a number of them already, but we're always looking for more. And we even hire people with lived experience and priors, and people who have released from our system. So please send me that info and your ideas on that.
Right. And one last quick question. It's you mentioned, you know, working with stakeholders in your presentation, and there was just a quick question of who out there in the community do you consider stakeholders?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's vast, right? So we have a lot of internal stakeholders, which obviously includes our staff and our treatment providers, and also our population. They're a stakeholder in the work that we're doing. But then we have a large group of external stakeholders as well, which ranges from community members, you know, the general public, legislators, right? Other state agency branches, groups like Second Chance Tucson and other partner agencies. We have stakeholders that are purely advocacy driven agencies. So it's a whole host of individuals. You know, as a executive branch agency and a public service agency, our stakeholders are really endless. It's really about making sure that we engage with those individuals, and when they're interested in partnering with us, that we welcome them in and make those connections. And so that it's a very wide definition, and I don't just say that lightly. I say that in a very meaningful way. It takes all of us with interest and resource to change the course of a system and get it on a good direction forward.
Well, thank you very much, Director. I really appreciate your comments today and your vision for a new direction for corrections, and really appreciate you making the time to speak with us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're next move on to an employer perspective. The Michelle Meyerkorth, is the Human Resource Manager for Quail Construction, a multi-state operation with over 200 employees. Michelle, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Can you just briefly tell us a little bit about what Quail Construction does?
Sure, certainly. So we are a traffic and barricade company. So when you're out on the freeway and you see those lane closed, merge right, merge left, that sort of thing, that's what we do. So Quail started in 1999 in Yuma with one company and one branch, and has grown to 6 branches throughout the state of Arizona and 1 in Las Vegas. So we're the ones out there that are setting up the traffic and the barricades and making the public safe for driving. I mean, and it's an industry that we're going to be around forever, because people love to get places and go places and that sort of thing. As I said, we've been around for 25 years. In this industry, we have never had a fatality. And to say that is something that is really a good thing, that we've never had a fatality, and we pride ourselves on our safety of our employees. We are definitely second chance friendly. We believe in giving people that opportunity to have that, to be able to find employment. I hear that all the time. No one will give me a job. No one will give me a chance. Well, you know, we want to give you that chance. We want to give you that opportunity. Everybody is subject to a pre-employment drug test, a background check, and a motor vehicle report. You have to be able to have a valid driver's license and be insurable by our insurance. And our background is, again, like I said, we are background friendly. The only thing that will 100% prevent someone from working with us is if they're a registered sex offender, or if they have a sex-related crime. That will 100% exclude them from working with us. Everything else is on a case-by-case basis. So, for example, if someone had a drug charge from 5 years ago, not really going to be a deal breaker for us. But if they have a road rage conviction, probably not going to be a good fit because you're out in the general public and you know, we don't want that opportunity to present itself, you know, to do that. We definitely believe in promoting from within. So once you get in, if you want to move your way up, we certainly have those opportunities. We have all the different branches. So if you decide you want to go to a different branch, you have that opportunity. I use my branch manager in Phoenix as my shining star. He started with a company as a flagger, just being a flagger out there in the field, worked his way up to a foreman, a project manager, and now he's a branch manager of a multi-million-dollar branch. So it's definitely there. It's definitely available. If there's something that someone wants to do, we will certainly get them the training. We don't just, you know, hire you, give you the paperwork and say, here, take the keys, go play in traffic. We certainly don't do that. We certainly want to make sure our employees are safe. They understand the rules, what we do, why we do it. If they have questions, definitely ask. Again, we just, you know, want to take care of our employees and make sure that they're safe, because my job as the HR manager, my assets are my employees. So I want to make sure that they go home every day safe in one piece, and that we're keeping that general public out there safe when they're, you know, when other crews are working on the roads and doing whatever. We have that full gamut of benefits, dental, medical, 401k. Our benefits start the first of the month following 60 days of employment. And our 401k is the same thing, first of the month following 60 days of employment. The best thing about our 401k is what is called a safe harbor, which means that once you enroll in the 401k, you are fully vested. So the company will match up to 4%. So if you're with a company 3 months after you start your 401k, any money that you've put in as well as what the company has put in is yours, and it goes with you. Again, I've been here for 2.5 years. I really believe in helping people. I've gotten so many great contacts all over the state with DES, second chance programs, anything possible to help folks. And most of the time when I get that, when I see someone and have them coming from these programs, they're just so thankful that someone is giving them that opportunity, because every one of us has made a mistake. And I know there's things in my past that people don't need to know about. And I've learned from my mistakes, and I've grown from my mistakes, and everybody just deserves that second chance.
Yeah, Megan, you did at one point get connected with the DES and
Yes.
their work in helping prepare incarcerated people for employment. Why don't you tell
Yes.
me a little about that, how you got connected?
So it started, gosh, 1.5 years ago. We were looking for employees and we were just thinking outside the box. My branch manager in Phoenix is the one that said, hey, you know, I'm an ex-con. They need a job when they come out. And so I just got in touch with a lady at DES who's been awesome. And I am constantly, every time I turn around, there's a different avenue, and I'm meeting this person, and just getting to know them. I'm getting the Quail name out there any way possible, because it's a good company to work for. We're always growing. We're definitely growing. We want to help people. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. There's just so many people out there that need that help, that hand, that you know, that second chance. And I just love being able to do that. That's probably the best part of my job.
Yeah. And do you use the Federal Bonding Authority?
Yes, I do. For anybody that comes in that does have a background, I definitely register them with the federal bonding program. And it's really easy. It takes 2 moments. And then once they're in there and I get the paperwork back, I've yet to have to utilize it, but I definitely register them. And it's just nice knowing, having that safety net there. Again, it's just a good thing. All the resources out there. It's just you talk to one person and they know 3 other people, and you talk to those 3 and they know 12 other people. And so just getting our name out there, and we've had some really good success of having people come in from a second chance, whether it be in Phoenix or in Tucson or wherever. It's just, they're the ones that want to work. They're the ones that are going to show up every day because they're thankful and they're appreciative that they've been given that opportunity to come in and come back and be part of society again.
Yeah. I remember when we spoke last week, you mentioned a story about you emphasized doing a case-by-case determination, which
Yes.
is certainly something we support.
Yes.
But you had one where you were not quite sure, and
Yes.
you asked the Phoenix branch manager to get in touch with this guy. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
Again, if it's on a case by case basis, my Phoenix branch manager, again, he's a little bit more open-minded. And if he's not afraid of someone having a background. And so I gave him the opportunity. I'm like, I'm kind of on the fence about this. You talk to the person, and he talked to the guy. The gentleman was awesome. He was like, he's called me like 3 times, I just wanted to see where my status was, what's going on. And we talked to him, the branch manager talked with him, and he was like, okay, understand the situation. It was miscommunication, misunderstanding, whatever. He goes, I've done my time. I'm really embarrassed about it. I wish it wouldn't have happened, but it did. And I want to grow. And so he started with us. I usually don't let the branch managers know, again, with the exception of my Phoenix branch manager, because I don't want any of my other branch managers to have a preconceived notion. Oh, Joe Smith is a bad person. He went to prison. We don't like him. I don't want anybody to have that. That's not fair to them. They're working to get their life better. That's why Arizona is a ban the box state. That's why you can't ask if they have a criminal background. We just let them know that we are going to run a check and then we go from there, because if there's nothing on their criminal background, whether it's been cleared off, it's been expunged or whatever, then there's no reason for them to tell me anything that I don't need to know. And again, I want them to give them every possible opportunity. So if it's someone outside of my Phoenix branch that I have a question about, my vice president and I will sit down and talk about it. And, we banter back and forth. This is a good one. Or, if they've repeated the same thing 27 times, probably not learned that, this isn't the right thing to do, and probably not going to be a good candidate. But, again, we want to give everybody that opportunity. So that's why we do it on a case by case basis, with the exception of the unfortunates of the sex crimes. We can't do those.
Well, I really appreciate you being here to speak today. And it sounds like we need to get your Phoenix branch manager for a success story at one of our future events.
He would love that. He would love that.
Do you have any kind of closing message for employers who may be kind of sitting on the fence about whether they would consider second chance hires?
They're the best. Like I said, they're the ones that they want to work. So they're the ones that are going to show up early. They're the ones that are going to be there. They're the ones that are going to want the overtime. They're going to want to learn. They're going to see, hey, Quail is investing in me, and there's opportunities for me here, and I can grow and I can learn and I can move up if I want to. And if they see that success story, again, someone that started as a flagger, which everyone would start out as, to become a branch manager, yeah, that is a huge success story there. And it's the best thing. It's like, even if I hired someone off the street that didn't come from a second chance program, they may not be the best employee. So, you can't judge the book by the cover. You have to give them the opportunity.
It's a wonderful message, Michelle. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, thank you so much.
Look forward to staying in touch in the future. Thanks again.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
The next up is an inspiring success story. I want to introduce Miguel Mendoza, a certified automotive technician at Holmes Tuttle Ford. And as Miguel calls him, Miguel's boss's boss, Pete Cates, the fixed operations director for Jim Click Automotive. So there they are. Hi, Pete and Miguel.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Miguel, I understand that you were raised on the west side of Tucson there over near El Rio Golf Course. And at some point in your youth, you kind of came entangled in the juvenile justice system and later the adult justice system. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you ended up being incarcerated?
Yeah, so yes, I'm born and raised in Tucson, and I grew up on the west side. I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a high rate of drug abuse and alcohol abuse and gang activity. And as soon as I was around 13 years old, I was big time involved in gangs, and, not following rules, making bad decisions, leading for me to be arrested and sent to jail as a juvenile and as an adult.
Yeah. And so eventually you ended up going to state prison. I think you told me it was for like a year, right?
Yes, I spent a year in state prison. I got released on probation. I try to do what I had to do to, but I still took a step back and kept falling back and, making some bad choices and, you know, going in and out.
Yeah. And was that one of those times you were sent back was when you were, I guess, found to be in a car with your cousin? Was that?
Yeah, yeah, I did. You know, I was on probation and they didn't, one of my, they call them um, gang conditions. They didn't want me being out at a certain time or with certain people. And yeah, I ended up getting pulled over and I got violated and, I almost got sent back up to prison, but I got another second chance there because those are just my family members. And, I explained like, hey, I just took a night out. We weren't doing anything bad at the time or trying to do so.
Well, let's talk about you subsequently you ended up in federal custody, right?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you? And that was a longer sentence, as I recall.
Yes. Yeah. So I ended up getting in trouble again and I got sentenced to 7 years. And I already had children, kids, the ages 3, 2, and 1. So when I, got busted and got that sentence, I had to start, thinking different, making better decisions. So I couldn't think about me no more. 7 years away from them was, big for me. So I started to, plan at, sorry to say, but I had to start planning while I was, incarcerated to make better decisions, to be responsible, go to, any kind of programs that were set in the prison to do good, like parenting, GD, custodial maintenance. I showed up to those courses every chance I could just to better myself.
Yeah, and the program that was a big change for you was the Challenge program. It's a program that I've admired for a long time out there at the federal penitentiary in Tucson.
Yeah, I participated in the challenge program. It was a 2 year, 24-month program, cognitive skill based, mental health, drug abuse, in group setting with other inmates. Just trying to look at different thinking. Besides criminal thinking. Be positive and it was big on me. I took it real serious, and I learned a lot from that program. And I think that program can help a lot of people that are struggling with their issues, and to make them feel better about their self and set plans and be a better person.
Yeah, and the atmosphere in the Challenge program housing unit, it's a lot less confrontational than in the rest of the prison, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is. It's people trying to get their hold to accountability, and if you don't follow the rules, you'll get kicked out, and it can affect your sentence. Instead of getting out earlier, or it could you would have to take the sign up for the program again. So it was either you did it or you didn't do it.
Right. Yeah. I know I've attended several Challenge program graduations. They're always very uplifting events, and it's a wonderful program. Well, you're getting towards the end of your federal sentence. I think you were close to 30 days from release. And one of the reentry coordinators, I don't know if it was Miss Corona, somebody told you to put your Browns on, right?
Yeah, it was the challenge program coordinator. Her name was Dr. Miss Steifer, and she was, she called me up and she said, "Come down here." And that was the day that my life changed. I talked to my employer that I'm employed with now for the last 7 years, going on 8 years, and it was all from just programming and having the opportunity, Second Chance Tucson, having the volunteers, the employers, the just the program to reach out and be involved with inmates, that are getting ready to re-enter to the community.
You remember who you interviewed with that day?
Oh yes, I had interviewed with Mr. Click.
Yeah, Jim Click himself, right?
Yeah, Jim Click himself,
Yeah,
and
that's wonderful.
that was good. That's why I'm here. I'm grateful. I'm happy. I didn't have nothing planned but to get out and get a job, and it came right to my front door before I got released, and changed my life. And I'm real grateful.
Right. So just briefly tell us a little bit about your path there at Homes Total 4. You started out doing detail work, right?
Yeah, I got hired, and I got hired as a detailer. Washing cars, buffing, uh, getting them ready, and about 8 months into that, I decided to sit down with my manager and ask him, is there a chance I could work on vehicles and be an auto technician? Because the dealership that I worked at is pretty big, and all you see is a lot of cars getting worked on. So I was like, is there a chance I could be a mechanic? And sure enough, that next January 1st, I believe 2018, I started working in maintenance. They call it the quick lane, and doing oil change, brakes, tires, all that maintenance stuff, air filters, flushes, and at the same time, I had an opportunity to go to the Pima College, community college, under the Jim Click scholarship, and to earn a automotive certificate after work. So I was working, and then after work, I went to school, and that's that. Yeah, that's good stuff. All great. It's all good.
And now you are a certified automotive technician there at Homes Tuttle Ford, right?
Yes, I'm a Ford Automotive certified technician, working on light line repairs from AC to recalls to sunroofs, anything that comes in them.
And as I understand, you've gotten to the point where some of your coworkers actually come to you for a little help and advice and mentoring.
Oh yeah, it's we're real proactive at our company and at our shop, and that's a good thing about working here is that everyone is there when you need them. We all have each other's back, and it's good. It's and I learned a lot from from my seniority technicians here. Just being that guy to sit there and listen and ask questions without no hesitation got me a far where I'm at.
Yeah. Pete, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your perspective of how Miguel has contributed to the Jim Click Automotive family and Homes Tuttle Ford.
Yeah, he's been a great asset. Miguel sort of embodies exactly what our culture is all about. He came in and started off in detail. Has a great work ethic. Solid, has a positive attitude. Worked as a detailer, took the next step. He had an initiative there. Like you said, he has 3 kids, and he worked all day and then went to school at night. As you heard from him, it comes from the top down with Mr. Click and Sam Kyatt, Lillian Lewis, with the scholarship that we provide at Pima Community College. It pays for tuition, it pays for books. It gives them a starter tool set and then a more advanced tool set when they graduate. But Miguel took that and got through school, got his certificate, and became an apprentice technician. And that's always the toughest part when you're an apprentice and then you're learning to become a flat rate technician. And so he had a senior master technician, Chris, here that took him under his wing, showed him how to make himself successful. And he's given back to the shop. He's now mentoring some other technicians, continues to come in with the same work ethic, the same attitude, and he's really setting a great example. And, you know, we have about 800 employees here in Tucson, and every one of us come in at an entry level and we work our way up throughout the company. And Miguel is a great example of that.
Yes. And Pete, you know, Jim Click Automotive has been a wonderful partner for Second Chance Tucson since our inception, really. And one of our awards is named for the late Brad Lancaster, who was really heavily involved with Second Chance Tucson, a wonderful man. But certainly your Jim Click Automotive is committed to, you know, giving a fair chance to second chance hires, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of different opportunities. You know, we have technicians, we have advisors, we have body techs, painters, parts people, parts drivers, delivery, detailers. You know, there's a lot of different opportunities. So if we have the right candidate that comes in and applies, that needs that second chance, you know, we take a look at the individual and see where could we fit him in within our organization. And if they come to us like Miguel did with the right attitude, the right work ethic, and desire to turn their life around, then I believe that the Jim Click Automotive team is one of their best opportunities.
Wonderful. You know, when we met last week, I think after, and you knew that Miguel had a criminal history, but after he shared his story with us that day, I think I heard you comment, says, well, I didn't know all that. And yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of you know, it's not, maybe not right to pry, and it's up to the person as to what they want to share about their life. But it is interesting. It could be important to be in a position to put yourself in the shoes of someone you're working with. So I imagine that hearing Miguel's full story is even increased your admiration for what he's done and accomplished.
You know, it really does. Because like he said, you know, it started with him when he was 13 and growing up, and for him to have been in the system for as long as he was, and then to be able to recognize that he's got other priorities with his family, that he was able to turn his whole life around, is, to be honest with you, it just says a huge amount about the person he is. And I know there's some other things that I won't share that he's shared with me about sacrifices that he's made to take care of his children. And it's really a great story. You know, and we were just talking, you know, because our automotive team is very involved in the trades, working with the local high schools, because a lot of them have the automotive program. We provide internships, and then we promote them through the Pima Community College and hire them into our dealerships. And we were just talking about some of the programs at some of the high schools here in town, and how important that he wishes that he had known about those back when he was that age. It might have put him in a different direction. So.
Yeah, that's great. Miguel, we really appreciate you sharing your story here today. I know your message is that to others is that if you can do it, they can do it. Do you have any last comment for people today?
Oh, yes, I do. Again, let me thank you for having me here. I really do like coming here and sharing my story, and hopefully it reaches out to some employer, to an individual that's, you know, thinking about making a change, or, you know, scared that somebody's going to say, oh man, you know, I was this bad old guy, I can't change my life. No, you can. You know, if I can, you can. And that's just what I got to tell you, you know. And I'm very appreciative of this opportunity today.
Very good. Miguel and Pete, thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Right. So Second Chance Tucson held its first in-person event since COVID on August 17th, 2023. with the Job and Resource Fair at the Tucson Convention Center. As you can see from the slide there on the left, we're going to repeat that event again at the Tucson Convention Center on Thursday, August 15th. The job fair will run from 1 to 4. The equally important resource fair that we hold out in the lobby of the main ballroom will go from noon to 4. In addition, keep an eye out on our website for job fair orientation presentations that we are planning in advance of the job fair. This event is being organized by 2 of our most reliable volunteers, Lisa Larrabee of Goodwill and Araceli Corona of the Bureau of Prisons. If you'd like to volunteer to assist with the event, or if you want a table in either the job fair or the resource fair, go to our website at www.secondchancetucson.org. And then the right side of this slide, Second Chance Tucson has established a speakers bureau with 9 speakers, all of whom have lived experience of incarceration. This is designed to reach audiences at churches, service clubs, and professional organizations, people who may not particularly be familiar with the impacts of the criminal justice system and incarceration. So it's a little different than our forums, which generally attract people who are already interested in these topics. If you know of an organization that would like a presentation, you can inquire on our website. There is no charge for the presentation. We believe this will help to showcase the humanity of the people that we're talking about. We are a volunteer organization, and if you would like to volunteer to assist Second Chance Tucson, please contact me at crpile@secondchancetucson.org or through the website. We'd also appreciate it if you'd follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, where we update kind of our activities and what's coming up in the future. And of course, our website, which has a wide range of information. Second Chance Tucson is a 501c3 organization. Your donations support our efforts to help people facing the stigma of a criminal conviction find community connection, stability, and prosperity. And the best way to donate is on our website. I want to thank Director Thornell and all of our speakers for their informative, inspiring presentations today. And I want to thank all of you for being present today. We hope to see you at an upcoming Second Chance Tucson event. Thank you.